Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Korean ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. In this series 3분 한국어, we are going to learn basic Korean expressions. It's super easy and it takes only 3 minutes. First of all, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Korean. There are a few different ways to do it depending on how formal you want to be. Let's first look at an informal way to introduce yourself. 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Here, 안녕 means peace, so literally you say peace to say hello in Korean. Next, you can say your name, then add the sentence ending particle, 야. My name is Amy, so I say Amy야. Finally, you say 반가워. 반가워 means nice to meet you. Now you try it. Start by saying 안녕. Then say your name followed by 야. If your name is David, you can say 데이비드야. Finally say 반가워. 안녕 데이비드야. 반가워. Now let's see a formal version. 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. What has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these together. First, 안녕 has to change to 안녕하세요. 하세요 is the verb meaning to do. If you add 하세요 next to 안녕, it becomes more formal and polite. 안녕하세요. Next, you can replace the particle 야 with 에요. Both of them are sentence-ending particles, and you can put them after nouns. But 야 is informal, and 에요 is formal. So if you say Amy예요 instead of Amy야, you can introduce your name in more formal way. Finally, 반가워요. Do you remember how to say nice to meet you in the informal way? 반가워. Here, you can simply add the particle 요 at the end of the verb. Then it becomes formal. 요 is a particle that can make a sentence polite. 반가워요. One more time. The formal way to introduce yourself is 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. The informal way to introduce yourself is 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Now it's time for Amy's insights. When you introduce yourself in Korea, it's polite to make a small bow. If you're a guy, bow with your hands at your sides. If you're a girl, bow with your hands in front of you. Bow from the waist. You don't have to dip down very far. Do you know how to say thank you in Korean? You will learn how to say this and many other words in the next lesson. 다음에 봐요. See you then. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Korean. Today, we're going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. Are you ready? Then let's start. There are several ways to thank someone. Let's start with the most common phrase, 감사합니다. 감사합니다. 감사합니다 means I do thanks or thank you. To say thank you very much, you just need to add 대단히, which means very much or greatly. 대단히 감사합니다. 대단히 감사합니다. 대단히 means greatly, so 대단히 감사합니다 is like saying thank you very much. In the last lesson, we saw that Korean has formal and informal ways of speaking. 감사합니다 is pretty formal. If you want to thank someone more casually, you can use a shorter phrase. 고마워. 고마워. Let's break down those phrases. In the formal way of saying thank you, 감사합니다. 감사 means thank you. And 합니다 is a formal way to say to do. So 감사합니다 means I do thanks. And to make it less formal, we swap out 감사 with a different verb. That's 고마워. It has the same meaning of thank you, but it's more friendly. When someone thanks you, how should you answer? There's no set response like you're welcome in English, but there are a few things that you can say. The first thing is 아니에요. 아니에요. You literally are saying no, but this is a common and informal way to respond to someone thanking you. You're telling the person that there's nothing to bother thanking you for. There's another phrase that's used to respond to thank you in Korean. 천만에요. 천만에요. But it's not used all that often. You're better off with 아니에요 in most situations. Now it's time for Amy's insights. 감사합니다 sounds formal. 고마워 sounds informal. What if you want to sound kind of formal, but still kind of friendly? In that case, you can upgrade the informal 고마워 to 고마워요. You see, you simply add 요 at the end. 요 is the sentence ending particles that make sentences more polite. This is a nice way to thank your waiter. 고마워요. Have you ever heard the phrase 안녕히 계세요 before? In our next lesson, you will learn this and more greetings in Korean. 여러분 감사합니다. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned how to thank people by saying 감사합니다 and 고마워. In this lesson, we will learn some of the most common greetings used in Korea. Are you ready? Then let's start. The most common informal greeting is 안녕. 안녕. 안녕 means peace. We say it when we meet someone and also when we leave, but only to a friend or someone younger than us. The more standard greeting that you will hear a lot in Korea is 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. Literally, 안녕하세요 means are you at peace? We use it to say hello when we meet someone. It's technically a question, but we don't always say it that way. 안녕하세요. Because 안녕하세요 is a question, some people answer it with 예, which means yes, before replying with the same question, 안녕하세요. When it's time to leave, we have a couple different ways to say goodbye. If you're leaving and the other person is staying, say 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 계세요. 계세요 means please stay. So 안녕히 계세요 literally means please stay peacefully. A casual version of 안녕히 계세요 is 잘 있어. 잘 means well and 있어 means stay informally. So 잘 있어 just means stay well. 잘 있어. If the other person is leaving, say 안녕히 가세요. 안녕히 가세요. 가세요 means please go. So 안녕히 가세요 literally means please go peacefully. A casual version of 안녕히 가세요 is 잘 가. 잘 means well and 가 means go informally. So 잘 가 just means go well. Now you know lots of ways to greet people in Korean. Let's review them all once again. To greet someone casually, 안녕. To greet someone respectfully, 안녕하세요. To say goodbye respectfully when you're leaving and the other person is staying, 안녕히 계세요. To say goodbye casually when you're leaving, 잘 있어. To say goodbye respectfully when the other person is leaving, 안녕히 가세요. To say goodbye casually when the other person is leaving, 잘 가. During the next lesson, we will learn the meaning of the phrase 영어를 할 수 있어요? Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our new 3분 한국어 lesson. 여러분 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, 에이미예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned the most common greetings in Korean. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Korean, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're asking, even if their answer is no. Are you ready? Then let's start. Here's the basic way to ask whether someone speaks English. 영어 하세요? 영어 하세요? 영어 means English, and 하세요 means do you do? So 영어 하세요 means do you do English? If you want to be a little more specific and ask about someone's ability to speak English, you can say 영어 할 수 있어요? 할 수 있어요 means can you do? Can you do English? 영어 할 수 있어요? 영어 할 수 있어요? This sentence could be very helpful if you're in trouble on the street, in a restaurant, or a hotel. No matter where you are, if you're looking for someone who can speak English, just ask. If you want to be super polite, just add 실례하지만, which means excuse me but. 실례하지만 영어 하세요? Excuse me but do you speak English? 실례하지만 영어 하세요? The response will probably be like one of these three. Yeah? Yes? Yeah? 조금이요. Just a little. 조금이요. 아니 못해요. No, I don't. 아니 못해요. Since this last one is a negative statement about ability, we add 못, an adverb meaning can't. 못해요 means I can't. Now it's time for Amy's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. 일본어 for Japanese, 중국어 for Chinese, 스페인어 for Spanish, 독일어 for German, 프랑스어 for French. If you want to say, do you speak German? You can simply replace 영어 with 독일어. 독일어 하세요? Do you speak German? 독일어 하세요? In this lesson, we mentioned the word 실례합니다, meaning excuse me. In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in Korean. It's never too late to show your good manners to Korean people. I'll see you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 실례하지만 한국어 하세요? If you understood this, you can say yeah, meaning yes. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase 실례하지만 영어 하세요? Excuse me, do you speak English? This uses the phrase 실례하지만, one way to say excuse me in Korean. Today, we are going to learn several ways to apologize in Korean. Are you ready? Let's start. First is 실례합니다. It means excuse me. If you want to add something to the end, tweak it to 실례하지만. Excuse me, but here 실례 means excuse and 합니다 means to do. So 실례합니다 means do excuse or excuse me. If you change 합니다 with 하지만, which means but, you can say 실례하지만. It means excuse me, but. Saying 실례합니다 doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means you have a question or favor to ask that may require someone to take some trouble for you. If you've actually done something rude, or if you made mistakes, you use a different phrase. 죄송합니다. I'm sorry. 죄송합니다. This is the phrase you would use if you ever bumped into somebody on the street in Korea. 죄송합니다. If you say 실례합니다 in this situation, the person you bumped may not get that you're apologizing and may instead think that you bumped them on purpose to ask a favor. How about saying excuse me to get a waiter or bartender's attention? Koreans use a couple of different phrases for that. The first is 여기요, 여기요. That means over here, please. It may sound a little rude in English, but in Korean it's fine. Another version that sounds slightly more polite is 저기요, 저기요. That means, excuse me, you there. It may sound even more rude in English, but in Korean it's no problem. When the waiter is away from you, you can use this phrase, 저기요. You don't have to wait for the waiter to come to you. Just speak up with 여기요 or 저기요. Between friends, you can say 미안해, sorry. 미안해. 미안해 is an informal way to apologize to someone. Using 미안 instead of 죄송 suggests that you've hurt someone's feelings, not just inconvenienced them. Now it's time for Amy's insights. Want to sound more sincere when you apologize? Just add 정말, which means truly. 정말 미안합니다. I'm truly sorry. 정말 미안합니다. You can use 정말 with 미안합니다 and 죄송합니다, but not with 실례합니다. Do you know anything about counting in Korean? How about the name of this series? 3분 한국어. See, you already know a number, 3, which means 3. In the next lesson, we will learn how to count from 1 to 10 in Korean. I'll be waiting for you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Korean, including 죄송합니다 and 미안해. In this lesson, we are going to learn some numbers. Yes, numbers. 숫자. There are actually two systems of counting in Korean. In this lesson, you're going to learn the Chinese-based numbers 1 to 10. And you're going to learn them in only 3 minutes, 3분. Are you ready? Then let's start. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job! What comes before 1? Do you know how to say 0 in Korean? It's 0. But in phone numbers, it's often said 0. 0, 0. Imagine someone tells you a phone number. Can you understand it? 0, 1, 0, 3, 1, 7, 5, 4, 2, 6, 8. Now it's time for Amy's insights. As we mentioned earlier, Korean has two systems of counting. The Chinese-based one we are learning now, and the native Korean one. The Chinese-based one is easier, so we are learning it first. But we will learn the native Korean counting system in the very next 3분 한국어 lesson. See you then! 다음에 또 만나요! 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned the Chinese-based numbers from 1 to 10. Have you already forgotten them? I'll tell you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's great that you can count to 10. But did you know there's a whole other way to do that? That's right. In addition to the numbers based on Chinese characters, there are also the native Korean numbers that we have been using before we even had Chinese characters. Here they are. 하나, 1, 하나. 둘, 2, 둘. 셋, 3, 셋. 넷, 4, 넷. 다섯, 5, 다섯. 여섯, 6, 여섯. 일곱, 7, 일곱. 여덟, 8, 여덟. 아홉, 9, 아홉. 열, 10, 열. Which one do we use? We use both. Some things are counted using Chinese-based numbers, and other things using native Korean numbers. For example, when telling time, we say the hour using a native Korean number and the minute using a Chinese-based number. So let's practice these numbers and learn how to say times too. Here's how to say the hour first. 3 o'clock is 3시. 3시. The native Korean number 3 is 셋. But we shorten it to 세 when we put it before a counter like 시. The last consonant, 시옷, of 셋 disappeared when it meets the counting unit. When you add 하나, 1, 둘, 2, 셋, 3, 넷, 4 with counting units, the last vowel or consonant of each number will disappear. So 하나 is 1, but 1 o'clock is 1시. When 하나 meets the counting unit 시, the last vowel 아 disappears. 둘 is 2, but 2 o'clock is 2시. The last consonant 리을 disappeared. 넷 is 4, but 4 o'clock is 4시. Same thing here. The last consonant 시옷 disappeared. This rule is only for number 1 to 4. Otherwise, it is simply the Korean number plus 시. 10시, 10 o'clock, 7시, 7 o'clock. Now that you know how to say the hour, let's say the minute. The counter for minutes in Korean is 분. Be sure to use a Chinese-based number with this counter. Do you know how to say 3:10 in Korean? It's just 3시 10분. 3 in native numbers, plus the word for hour, 3시. Then 10 in Chinese numbers, 10. And finally the word for minutes, 분. 3시 10분. A little confusing, right? Don't worry, you will get the hang of it soon enough. Just remember that for hours we use Korean numbers, and for minutes we use Chinese numbers. Now it's time for Amy's insights. Here are some other suffixes used to count things. 명 for people, 한 명, 두 명. 번 for the number of times something happens. 한 번, 두 번. In the next lesson, we're finally going to break 10 and learn the numbers from 11 to 100. You definitely don't want to miss it. So join us next time for more 3분 한국어. 다음에 또 만나요. 여러분 안녕하세요. Amy예요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome back to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 2 lessons ago, we learned to count from 1 to 10 using Chinese numbers. In the last lesson, we learned the whole other way to count from 1 to 10 using native Korean numbers. Do you remember all these numbers? Let's see if you can recall the native ones first. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. Great job! And how about the Chinese numbers? Do you remember those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Phew, that's a lot of numbers. But I bet you're wondering what comes next, right? Well, if you think about it, 11 is just 10 plus 1. How would you say that in Korean? No need to overthink it. 10, 10 plus 1, 1 equals 11. So 11 is 11. And how about 12? 10, 10 plus 2 equals 12. So 12 is 12. Seem too easy to be true? It's not. And it doesn't get any harder when you hit 20. 20 is really just 2 tens. Multiply 2e by 10, 10 to get 20, 20. Just as you'd expect. 30 is 30, 40 is 40, and so on. Now that you know how to count tens, you can make it all the way to 99. For example, I bet you can tell me the Korean word for 87, even though we haven't counted nearly that high yet. Can you? First, we need to say 80. 80 is 8 tens, so 80 is 80. Finally, say the word for 7. 7. 87 is 87. Let's learn one more word. The Korean word for 100 is 백. 백. Can you guess how to say 150 in Korean? 100 is 백, and 50 is 50. So 150 is? That's right, it's 150. And I'm sure you can figure out how to say 250. 250. Great job! Now it's time for Amy's insights. You just learned how to count above 10 for Chinese numbers, but it works the exact same way for native numbers. 11 is 열하나. 열 is 10, and 하나 is 1. 12 is 열둘. 열 is 10, and 둘 is 2, and so on. In the next lesson, we're going to learn the handy phrase 얼마예요? Do you know what it means? We'll see this phrase and many others that will help you shop. I'll be waiting for you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Ask Kjin. My name is Kjin. 안녕하세요, Kjin입니다. In this series, I'll answer your Korean questions. So if you have any questions, please let me know by clicking the link in the description. Or you can go to koreanclass101.com/ask-kjin. So ask me any questions. Today I picked questions related to similar Korean words. Here's the first question. What's the difference between 벌써 and 이미? 벌써 and 이미. Both of them means already. So something was done already a long time ago or before the present. But 벌써 has another meaning, which means so soon, more quickly than you thought. So for example, someone is saying 나 집에 가야 해. It means I've gotta go home. 나 집에 가야 해. 나 집에 가야 해. I've gotta go home. And you can say, 벌써? Already? That's much earlier than I thought. 벌써? So this is a big difference. Both of them means already, but 벌써 has another meaning, like so soon. Here's the second question. What's the difference between 좋다 and 좋아하다? 좋다 and 좋아하다. The big difference is this. 좋다 is an adjective and 좋아하다 is a verb. So 좋다 is an adjective meaning to be good. 좋다. And it also means to be fond of. That's why sometimes people think 좋다 means exactly same as 좋아하다, the verb meaning to like. But please remember, 좋다 is an adjective and 좋아하다 is the verb. And second difference is this, the particle. Yes. 좋아하다 and 좋다, they use different particle. Before 좋다, you use a particle 이 or 가. And before 좋아하다, you use a particle 을 or 르. Here's an example. I like fruits, by the way. So, 포도가 좋아요. 포도가 좋아요. And 포도, it means grapes. And 가, the particle. And 좋아요 is exactly same as 좋다. But 좋다 is a dictionary form. Its the root form is infinitive. And 좋아요 is polite spoken form. And it's the present tense. So, 포도가 좋아요 means I like grapes or I'm fond of grapes. 포도가 좋아요. Or can also say 감이 좋아요. 감. 감 means a persimmon. 감. And 이 is a particle and 좋아요 means to be fond of or like. Do you see this particle? I'm using 가 here and I use 이 here. It's because 포도, this is a noun ending with a vowel. So I use 가 here. And come is persimmon. And it's a noun ending with consonant. So I'm using the particle e. So you use some noun, and after that you use a particle depending on what it ends with. And use 좋아요. So 포도가 좋아요, 감이 좋아요. And if I want to use 좋아하다 with exactly the same words, I will say 포도를 좋아해요. Again, 좋아요 is the present tense, is spoken, polite spoken form of 좋아하다, which is the dictionary form of to like. 포도를 좋아해요. 감을 좋아해요. I like persimmons. 감을 좋아해요. So I use 를 here because 포도 ended with a vowel. I use 을 here because 감 ended with consonant. So 포도가 좋아요 and 포도를 좋아해요. This means exactly the same, but you just need to use different particles. Then you might be wondering, teacher, you said 좋다 can also mean to be good or to be fond of. How can I know which one is meant? Well, you see the context. So when I see 포도가 좋아요, well, you can guess. Oh, I'm talking about grapes because I like it. 포도가 좋아요. Or I'm showing you 포도 and it has good quality. Then I might be saying, the quality of 포도, the grapes, is very good today. So it depending on the context. You can clearly see the context very easily, so don't worry about this. Here's the last question of the day. What is the difference between 다시 and 또? 다시 and 또? Well, both of them means again, so something happening again, once again. But 다시 has some meaning, some nuance. You do something all over again from the scratch. 다시. And 또, you do something again additionally. So that's the difference. 다시, all over again. 또, again additionally. For example, you are asking me a question. What is homework in Korean? What is homework? So I'm saying, homework in Korean, that's 숙제. It means homework, 숙제. And you are saying, please write it again using 다시, using 다시. As in, 다시 써주세요. 다시, again, 써 is from 쓰다, meaning to write. And 주세요 means please. So please write it again. 다시 써주세요. If you say 다시 써주세요, then I will do this. Oh, okay. All over again. 숙제 is 숙제. Here you are. 숙제 means homework. So this is what I will do. I'll write again, all over again from the scratch. But imagine you use this expression, 또, as in, 또 써주세요. 또, again, 또 써주세요. If you say that, I will do this. Okay, I write it again. 숙제, additionally. So I'm writing it again, additionally, not all over again from the beginning. So 숙제 is homework. And 다시 has a nuance, doing something again, all over again from the scratch. And 또, you do something again, additionally. That's it for this lesson. Today I answered 3 questions about similar Korean words. If you have any other questions, click the link in the description or go to koreanclass101.com/ask-Kjin. Thanks for watching. I'm Kjin and I'll see you on koreanclass101.com. 다음 시간에 봐요.
Welcome to Can Do Korean by koreanclass101.com.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 김소피입니다. Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you will learn how to introduce yourself in Korean.
This is Mark Morris. He's on a plane to Korea. Mingyu Moon, a passenger sitting next to him, introduces himself by saying, "Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you."
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use formal Korean. Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
Once more with the English translation.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
Hello, I'm Mark Morris. Nice to meet you.
Let's take a closer look at Mark's response.
Do you remember how Mark Morris introduces himself? Hello, I'm Mark Morris. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
First is,
안녕하세요.
meaning hello.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
This phrase is usually the first thing someone says when making a self-introduction in Korean.
안녕하세요.
Before we look at how Mark introduces his name, let's look at the last part of Mark's response. The phrase is,
반갑습니다.
this literally means happy to meet you, but translates as nice to meet you.
반갑습니다. 반갑습니다.
Do you remember how Mark says, I'm Mark Morris?
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
First is,
저,
meaning I.
저.
This is the humble word for I. Next is,
는,
the topic marking particle.
는.
It marks I as the topic of this sentence. Think of it like as for in the expression as for me. Together, it's
저는,
as for me.
저는.
Next is Mark Morris's name. Notice the name order. First is Mark's family name,
모리스,
Morris.
모리스.
Followed by his first name,
마크,
Mark.
마크.
Together, it's
모리스 마크,
Morris Mark.
모리스 마크.
In Korean, the order is family name first, followed by given names. Mingyu Moon also uses this name order when he says
문민규,
family name Moon, followed by given name Mingyu. Last is,
입니다.
in this case, it's like the am in I am.
입니다.
Is the formal form of the verb,
이다.
meaning to be.
이다.
Altogether, it's
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
this literally means, as for me, Morris Mark, I am. But it translates as, I'm Mark Morris.
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
The pattern is
저는 name입니다.
I'm name.
저는 name입니다.
To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your name. Imagine you're Karen Morris.
카렌, 모리스, 카렌, 모리스, 카렌, 모리스.
Say, I'm Karen Morris. Use Korean name order. Family name first, followed by given name. Ready?
저는 모리스 카렌입니다.
I'm Karen Morris.
저는 모리스 카렌입니다.
Note, there are two versions of the topic marking particle.
Then follows words that end in the vowel. N follows words that end in a consonant. Let's look at some examples. Vowels. In the dialogue, 는 follows 저, as 저 ends in a vowel. 저는 as for me. 저는. Consonants. In the case of words that end in consonants, like 오늘, meaning today, 은 follows. 오늘은, 오늘은.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits 저는?
She says,
심선영입니다.
I'm Sun Young Shim.
심선영입니다.
She omits
저는
and says her name,
심선영입니다.
followed by. In Korean, when the context is clear, the speaker often omits the topic. In this case, it's clear the speaker is talking about herself. The pattern is
name입니다.
I'm name.
name입니다.
Do you remember my introduction at the start of the lesson? 김소피입니다. I'm Sophie Kim. 김소피입니다.
This is shortened in the same way, by omitting.
저는
You should be aware of this shortcut, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern.
저는 name입니다.
I'm name.
저는 name입니다.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say hello? 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. And how to say nice to meet you. 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. Do you remember how to say I? 저. And how to say as for me. 저는. Do you remember how Mark Murray says his name? 모리스 마크. And how Mark Murray says, I'm Mark Maurice. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. Do you remember how Mark Murray says, Hello, I'm Mark Maurice. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다. And do you remember how Mingyu Moon says, Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's practice. Imagine you're.
모리스 카렌.
Respond to Mingyu Moon's self-introduction. Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's try another. Imagine you're.
심선영.
Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're
김소피,
ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. When introducing yourself as a Korean learner, use the name or name order with which you'd like to be addressed. For example, you might want to share only your given name. 저는 카렌입니다. I'm Karen. 저는 카렌입니다. Or you might want to give your given name followed by your family name. 저는 카렌 모리스입니다. I'm Karen Maurice. 저는 카렌 모리스입니다. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요 여러분, 김소피입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you will learn how to tell someone where you're from in Korean.
This is Mark Morris. He's on a plane to Korea. Min-Kyu Moon, a passenger sitting next to him, asks, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use polite Korean. Ready?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
Once more with the English translation.
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Mark, where are you from?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
I'm from New York.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mingyu Moon asks, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
First is
마크 씨,
Mark.
마크 씨,
This starts with Mark's name,
마크,
Mark.
마크, 마크,
After this is
씨,
a polite suffix attached to a person's name.
씨, 씨, 씨,
Is commonly used amongst people of equal social status, age, or position. This suffix can be used with any gender and can be attached to a person's given name or their full name, but not the last name alone. Together,
마크 씨,
Mark.
마크 씨,
Next is the particle,
는,
the topic marking particle.
는, 는,
Here,
는,
indicates that Mark is the topic of the sentence. Think of it like as for in the expression as for Mark. In Korean, it's impolite to refer to someone as you. Using the person's name is considered more indirect and therefore more polite. Together, it's
마크 씨는,
as for Mark.
마크 씨는,
Note, there are two forms of the topic marking particle.
는,
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as in.
마크 씨,
Next is the word
어디,
where.
어디, 어디,
After this is the particle,
에서,
the location marking particle.
에서, 에서,
In this sentence, think of it as the from, as in, where are you from? Next is,
왔어요,
which means you came, as in, you came from.
왔어요, 왔어요,
Note, the word you is understood from context, as the speaker is asking a question.
왔어요,
Comes from the verb
오다,
meaning to come, as in, to come from.
오다.
Altogether,
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
this literally means, as for Mark, where from you came. But it translates as, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later in this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Mark Morris says, I'm from New York?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
First is
뉴욕,
New York.
뉴욕, 뉴욕,
After this is
에서,
the location marking particle.
에서,
It marks
뉴욕,
New York as the location that's relevant to the action of the sentence. Think of it as the from, as in from New York.
뉴욕에서
This is followed by
왔어요,
I came, as in I came from.
왔어요, 왔어요,
Note, the word I is understood from context, as Mark is answering a question.
왔어요,
Is from the verb
오다,
meaning to come.
오다,
Altogether, it's
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
This literally means New York from I came, but it translates as I came from New York.
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
The pattern is
홈타운에서 왔어요.
I'm from hometown.
홈타운에서 왔어요.
To use this pattern, simply replace hometown with your hometown. Imagine you're from Seattle.
시애틀, 시애틀, 시애틀.
Say, I'm from Seattle.
시애틀에서 왔어요.
I'm from Seattle.
시애틀에서 왔어요.
Pronunciation note. Listen to New York and the location marking particle pronounced separately.
뉴욕,
New York.
뉴욕. 에서,
The location marking particle.
에서.
Now listen to the New York followed by the location marking particle.
뉴욕에서, 뉴욕에서.
Notice the difference? The last consonant in
뉴욕,
blends with the vowel in.
에서. 뉴욕에서, 뉴욕에서.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
뉴욕에서 왔어요. 뉴욕에서 왔어요.
평창에서 왔어요. 평창에서 왔어요.
시애틀에서 왔어요. 시애틀에서 왔어요.
런던에서 왔어요. 런던에서 왔어요.
서울에서 왔어요. 서울에서 왔어요.
호주에서 왔어요. 호주에서 왔어요.
Did you notice the last speaker says a country name in place of a city name?
호주에서 왔어요.
I'm from Australia.
호주에서 왔어요.
You can use this pattern to talk about your country, not just your hometown. In the example, the speaker is from
호주,
Australia.
호주, 호주.
This pattern is
home country에서 왔어요.
I'm from home country.
home country에서 왔어요.
You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use city names. Let's review the key vocabulary.
평창,
Pyeongchang,
평창, 평창. 런던,
London,
런던, 런던. 서울,
Seoul,
서울, 서울.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say New York? 뉴욕, New York. And how to say from New York. 뉴욕에서. 뉴욕에서. Do you remember how Mark says, I'm from New York?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
뉴욕에서 왔어요. Do you remember how to say where? 어디. 어디. And how Mingyu-moon addresses Mark? 마크 씨. 마크 씨. Do you remember how Mingyu asks Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요? Do you remember how to say London? 런던. 런던. And how to say Seattle? 시애틀. 시애틀. Do you remember how to say Seoul? 서울. 서울.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Jack Jones from London. Respond to Mingyu Moon's question. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요? 런던에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
런던에서 왔어요. 런던에서 왔어요.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Eugene Elm from Seattle. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요?
시애틀에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
시애틀에서 왔어요. 시애틀에서 왔어요.
Let's try one more. Now, imagine you're Sophie Kim from Seoul. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요?
서울에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
서울에서 왔어요. 서울에서 왔어요. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try any time you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to say where you're from in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to say where you're from in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요 여러분, 김소피입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your occupation in Korean.
This is Mark Morris, and he's on a plane to Seoul. He asks the passenger sitting next to him, Min-Gyu Moon, "Are you a student?"
학생이에요.
Listen to the conversation and focus on Min-Gyu Moon's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use polite Korean. Ready?
학생이에요.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
Once more with the English translation.
학생이에요.
Are you a student?
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mark asks, "Are you a student?"
학생이에요.
First is
학생,
student.
학생, 학생,
Next is,
이에요,
here it's like the R in RU.
이에요, 이에요.
Note, the word you is understood from context, as Mark is asking a question, and here the question is formed by the rising intonation. Listen again.
학생이에요? 이에요,
Is from the verb,
이다,
meaning to be.
이다,
Note,
이에요.
follows words that end in a consonant like,
학생,
altogether,
학생이에요?
are you a student?
학생이에요.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Min-Gyu Moon says, "No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor."
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
First is the expression,
아니요,
meaning no.
아니요, 아니요.
It answers Mark's yes or no question. Are you a student?
학생이에요?
Next, Min-Gyu says,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student.
학생이 아니에요.
First is
학생,
student.
학생.
Next is
이,
the subject marking particle.
이.
It marks student as the subject of the sentence. Note, there are two versions of the subject marking particle.
이,
Follows words that end in a consonant, like,
학생.
next is,
아니에요.
here, not I am. but it translates as I am not.
아니에요.
Note, the word I is understood from context, as Mingyu is responding to a question.
아니에요.
Is from the verb,
아니다.
meaning to not be.
아니다.
Altogether,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student.
학생이 아니에요.
Finally, Mingyu says,
투자가예요.
I'm an investor.
투자가예요.
First,
투자가.
investor.
투자가. 투자가.
Next is,
예요.
in this case, it's like the am in I am.
예요. 예요.
Note, the word I is understood from context, as the speaker is answering a question.
예요.
Is from the verb,
이다.
meaning to be.
이다.
Note,
예요.
follows words that end in a vowel like,
투자가.
together,
투자가예요.
I'm an investor.
투자가예요.
Altogether,
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
no, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
Note, there are two forms of the subject marking particle.
이.
Follows words that end in a consonant, such as,
학생. 가.
follows words that end in a vowel, such as.
투자가.
Note, there are two polite forms of the verb,
이다.
to be.
이에요.
Follows words that end in a consonant, such as.
학생. 예요.
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as.
투자가.
The pattern is,
아니요. occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요.
no, I'm not occupation.
actual occupation ending in consonant. 예요. actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
I'm actual occupation.
아니요. occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요. actual occupation ending in consonant. 예요. actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
No, I'm not occupation. I'm actual occupation. Imagine you're Eugene Eom, a student. Mingyu asks you if you're a teacher.
선생님. 선생님. 선생님.
Say, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. Ready?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
No, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요. 아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
아니요. 간호사가 아니에요. 의사예요. 아니요. 간호사가 아니에요. 의사예요.
아니요, 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. 아니요, 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요.
아니요. 바리스타예요. 아니요. 바리스타예요.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits part of the response?
아니요. 바리스타예요.
No, I am a barista.
아니요. 바리스타예요.
When directly responding to someone's question, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply answering
아니요.
no, there is no need to say,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student. This pattern is
아니요. actual occupation ending in consonant. 이에요. 아니요. actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
no, I'm actual occupation. You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern.
아니요. occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요.
No, I'm not occupation.
actual occupation ending in consonant. 이에요. actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
I'm actual occupation. Let's review the key vocabulary.
선생님,
Teacher,
선생님, 선생님. 엔지니어,
engineer,
엔지니어, 엔지니어. 간호사,
nurse,
간호사, 간호사. 의사,
doctor,
의사, 의사. 바리스타,
barista,
바리스타, 바리스타.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say investor? 투자가, 투자가. And how Mingyu-moon says, I am an investor. 투자가예요. 투자가예요. Do you remember how to say student? 학생, 학생. And how Mingyu-moon says, I'm not a student. 학생이 아니에요. 학생이 아니에요. Do you remember how to say no? 아니요. 아니요. Do you remember how Mingyu-moon says, no, I'm not a student. I am an investor.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요. Do you remember how Mark Morris asks, are you a student? Remember, Mark uses formal Korean.
학생이에요?
학생이에요? Do you remember the word for teacher? 선생님, 선생님. And the word for engineer? engineer, engineer.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Mark Morris, and you're an engineer. Respond to Mingyu's question. Ready?
선생님이에요?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Eugene Aum, and you're a student. Ready?
선생님이에요?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Sophie Kim, and you're a teacher. Ready?
학생이에요?
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. 아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to talk about your occupation in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to talk about your occupation in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Do you know how to count bags of rice? You'll find out at the end of this lesson. Hi everybody, I'm Alicia.
안녕하세요, 누경진입니다.
Welcome to Korean Counters for Beginners, where you'll learn how to count all sorts of different objects in Korean. Sungsae-nim, what counter will we learn in this lesson?
개.
First, let's take a look at what sorts of objects can be counted with this counter. When counting inanimate objects in general, you can use this counter.
개,
This counter can be translated as thing in English. Although it's better to use the specific counters that we're going to learn in the following lessons, you can use this counter for any inanimate object in general. For example, you can count apples with this counter as well as pens. When you're not sure which counters to use for inanimate objects, you can simply use this one. But you can't use it when you're counting animate objects, such as dogs or people. Okay, let's count from 1 to 10 with this counter. Sonseng-nim will give you the numbers one by one. Repeat after her.
한 개, 두 개, 세 개, 네 개, 다섯 개, 여섯 개, 일곱 개, 여덟 개, 아홉 개, 열 개.
Did you notice that the counter sounded different when she read it for the numbers 5 to 10? Those numbers have the batchim, or the final consonant in a Korean syllable, so it makes the counters sound stronger, a process that is called fortis. Let's hear them once again.
다섯 개, 낫 다섯 개, 여섯 개, 낫 여섯 개, 일곱 개, 낫 일곱 개, 여덟 개, 낫 여덟 개, 아홉 개, 낫 아홉 개, 열 개, 낫 열 개.
Okay, now let's take a look at some sample sentences using this counter.
사과 3개를 살 겁니다.
I'll buy 3 apples.
펜 5개 주세요.
Can you give me 5 pens, please?
건물이 10개 있습니다.
There are 10 buildings. Now it's time for a quiz. I'm going to ask you a question in English. Please answer in Korean. Are you ready? Make sure to use the right counter. How many umbrellas are there?
우산이 10개 있습니다.
How many computers do you have?
컴퓨터를 2개 갖고 있습니다.
Do you know the special counter for bags of rice? Rice is the main ingredient in Korean dishes, so it has a special counter just for the bags. The answer is
가마.
you need to use this counter to specify how many bags of rice. If you say,
쌀 한 가마 주세요.
it means, please give me 1 bag of rice. When you count a grain of rice, you can use the counter tol instead. Okay, everyone, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you next time. Do you know how to count a pair of fish? You'll find out at the end of this lesson. Hi everybody, I'm Alicia.
안녕하세요, 누경진입니다.
Welcome to Korean Counters for Beginners, where you'll learn how to count all sorts of different objects in Korean. Sungsae-nim, what counter will we learn in this lesson?
마리,
First, let's take a look at what sorts of objects can be counted with this counter. When you count animals, you can use this counter.
마리,
This counter can be used to count any type of animal, such as cats, birds, and even fish. But make sure not to use this counter for human beings. Okay, let's count from 1 to 10 with this counter.
한 마리, 두 마리, 세 마리, 네 마리, 다섯 마리, 여섯 마리, 일곱 마리, 여덟 마리, 아홉 마리, 열 마리.
Here's some good news. The pronunciation of this counter will always be the same, no matter how many animals you're counting. But when you use it to count the number 100 or higher, you should use Sino-Korean numbers. Let's hear some examples with the higher numbers.
100마리, 1000마리, 만마리.
Okay, now let's take a look at some sample sentences using this counter.
집에 고양이 한 마리가 있습니다.
I have a cat at home.
새 두 마리가 공원에서 날아다니고 있습니다.
2 birds are flying over the park.
어머니가 생선 세 마리를 요리하셨습니다.
My mother cooked 3 fish. Now it's time for a quiz. I'm going to ask you a question in English. Please answer in Korean. Are you ready? Make sure to use the right counter. How many pandas are in the park?
팬더 두 마리가 있습니다.
How many dogs are playing in the backyard?
마당에 강아지 세 마리가 놀고 있습니다.
When you're counting a pair of fish, you can use a special character. Do you know what it is? The answer is
손,
it sounds exactly the same as the word meaning hands. When it's used as a counter, you can use it for counting a pair of fish. Let's take an example.
어머니가 고등어 한 손을 사왔습니다.
It means, my mother bought 1 pair of mackerel. When you visit a Korean market, you'll be able to find people using this counter when they're buying fish. Okay, everyone, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you next time. Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Korean ebook before it's gone.